This is the review for the Chapter 1 Quiz 2. This covers sections 1-5 to 1-9. So the first section on your quiz, you have to convert the following numbers into standard form. These are honestly some of the easiest questions that you're going to have on your quiz, because all that I would do to make these into standard form is type them all right into the calculator, exactly how they're written. Go ahead and try 1 through 4 right now. So when you go to type it into the calculator, you would type in 8 times 10 caret button 3. 8 times 10 caret button 3, you get the number 8,000. 2 times 10 to the negative third. Again, type it right exactly how it is into the calculator. 2 times 10 caret button negative 3, you get 0.002. 1.9 times 10 to the fourth, you should have gotten 19,000. And 8.75 times 10 to the negative fourth, you get 0.000875. The next set of questions you need to do out by hand, because you need to make it into scientific notation. Remember, what you want to do is you want to put a decimal point after the first non-zero number, and then write that number down in front of the times 10, move your decimal point to the end or back to the original decimal point. Go ahead and pause the video here, try these 4 questions. So in question number 5, you're going to put a decimal point after the 8, write that number down in front of the times 10, and now you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to get to the end. So we have times 10 to the 5th power. In question number 6, you're going to put a decimal point after the 6, write that number down in front of the times 10, and then you're going to count 1, 2, 3 places back, but it's not going to be a 3 as our exponent. It's going to be a negative 3, because remember, anytime it starts with 0 point, it's going to be a negative exponent. 12,500, put a decimal point after your first non-zero number, so in between the 1 and the 2. Write that number down in front of the times 10, and then count 1, 2, 3, 4 places to get to the end. So it's times 10 to the 4th power. In question number 8, put a decimal point in between the 7 and the 8. So we have 7.8 times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to get back to the original decimal point. So we have an exponent of a negative 5. Again, it's a negative 5 because we started off with 0 point. In the next section, you want to use less than, greater than, or equal to compare the two numbers. Remember that the mouth opens towards the bigger number. So the bigger number, the alligator eats the bigger number. So we want to put the bigger number there and the smaller number there. If we have a greater than symbol, the bigger number would go here and the smaller number would go here. The mouth opens towards the bigger number. Go ahead and try these 3 questions, please. The bigger exponent is the bigger number. So all that we're looking for and comparing is the exponents. The bigger exponent is the bigger number. So we're comparing a 4 versus a negative 5. 4 is bigger, so it would be less than. We're comparing a negative 5 and a negative 6. The farther away from 0 a number is on the number line, the smaller it is, being negative numbers. So negative 6 is smaller, so that's going to be greater than. Here we have an 8 versus a 7. 8 is bigger, so it is greater than. In the next section, you have a table that you have to look at. We're looking for the most pencils, so that's going to be your biggest number. We're looking for the fewest pencils. That's going to be your smallest number. In number 14, we're looking for the total number of pencils in the 4 years combined. Remember, if you're baking a cake or making brownies or something like that, you're combining all the ingredients in the bowl. So the word combine means to add. So you're going to add together all 4 years. Put your final answer in scientific notation. And then in number 15, it says how many times more. When it says how many times more, you have to do the bigger number divided by the smaller number. Go ahead and try these 4 questions, please. Pause the video. During which year were the most pencils made? You're looking for the biggest number. So I'm looking at the scientific notations. I have a 7, 7, 6, and 7. 7 is bigger than 6. So now I'm looking at the numbers in front of the times 10. 5 is the biggest number. So this is going to be 2009. During which year were the fewest pencils made? I'm looking for the smallest one. That's going to be your smallest exponent, which is a 6 here. So that's going to be 2011. Adding together all 4 of these, you could just type it right into the calculator exactly how it is. When you type it and add them all together, you get 1, 4, 5, 4, and then 5 zeros. Make that number into scientific notation. So put a decimal point in between the 1 and the 4. So we have 1.454 times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So times 10 to the 8th power. How many times more were made in 2012 compared to 2011? So you have to divide. You have to do 4.2 times 10 to the 7th divided by 2011 number. So 8.4 times 10 to the 6th. Now be very, very careful. Remember, with dividing, you have to put the numbers inside parentheses. If you don't use the parentheses for dividing, you'll get the wrong answer every time. When you type that into the calculator with the parentheses, you get a flat answer of 5. It's 5 times more. In 16 through 19, they're adding and subtracting questions in scientific notation. All you're going to do is type them right into the calculator exactly how they are, and then make your answer into scientific notation. Pause the video, try these 4 questions. In number 16, you should get 81,000. So 81,000, put a decimal point in between the 8 and the 1. So we have 8.1 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 4th power. In question number 17, you get 6,200.04. Put a decimal point in between the 6 and the 2. You do need to write down those zeros in between because the zeros are in the middle. You're moving the decimal point 1, 2, 3 places, so times 10 to the 3rd power. In question number 18, you get 0.0013. Put your decimal point in between the 1 and the 3, so you have 1.3 times 10, 1, 2, 3. It's going to be the negative 3rd power because it starts with 0 point. In number 19, you get 54,770. Put your decimal point in between the 5 and the 4. So we have 5.477 times 10, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 4th power. Again, just type them right into the calculator, make them into scientific notation. Same exact thing that you're going to do with the multiplying and dividing questions. Type them right into the calculator exactly how they are. Remember that when parentheses are right next to each other, this means to multiply. Also remember, this is a dividing question. You have to put parentheses around your scientific notation. If you don't put the parentheses, same thing with number 22. If you don't put the parentheses, you'll get every single one wrong. Just type them into the calculator, make them into scientific notation. Pause the video, try these 4 questions. In number 20, you get 2,300,000. Put your decimal point in between the 2 and the 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places to get to the end. So it's times 10 to the 6th power. In the next one, when you divide, you get the number 3,000. So put the decimal point after the 3. So we have 3, 1, 2, 3 times 10 to the 3rd power. In number 22, the answer is actually too big to fit on the screen. So when you type it into the calculator, you're just going to get 2.5 times 10 to the 12th. It'll put it into scientific notation already for you. If you're using a different calculator instead of a times 10, you might see an E12. That E12 means 2.5 times 10 to the 12th power. That's what that E means. In number 23, you get, when you type it into the calculator, 0.0006. So put a decimal point after the 6. So you're going to have 6 times 10, 1, 2, 3, 4 times 10 to the negative 4th power. The last types of questions are word problems. In number 24, the diameter of a US quarter is 2.4 times 10 to the negative 2nd meters. The diameter of the entire planet Earth is 1.27 times 53 times 10 to the 7th meters. How many quarters placed side by side would it take to reach across the Earth's diameter? So you know the size of 1/4. You know the gigantic planet Earth. How many quarters is it going to take to go all the way across the planet Earth? So what you're actually going to have to do here is divide. You're doing this 1.2753 times 10 to the 7th divided by 2.41 times 10 to the negative 2nd. Make sure that you type them into inside parentheses. When you do that, you get an answer in scientific notation. It's a big, long, ugly decimal, but that's okay. You get 5.29170,124 times 10 to the 8th. In question number 25, the distance from the Earth to the Moon is 3.84 times 10 to the 5th. Kilometers. A space shuttle traveled from the Earth to the Moon and back. How far did it travel? There are two different ways to do this. The distance from the Earth to the Moon is this. You're traveling that distance twice. So one way to do this problem is to add those two numbers together twice. Or you could take 3.844 times 10 to the 5th and multiply it by 2 because you're traveling that same distance twice. Either way, when you go to do it and make your answer into scientific notation, you get 7.688 times 10 to the 5th power. In number 26, the length of a dust mite is 4.2 times 10 to the negative 4th meters in length. The average mattress has 2 times 10 to the 6th power dust mites. If the dust mites lined up in a row, how long would it be? So you know the length of one dust mite, you know how many you have, and you need to figure out how long they would stretch in a row. So you want to multiply those two numbers together, 4.2 times 10 to the negative 4th times 2 times 10 to the 6th. Just type it right into the calculator. You should end up with 8.4 times 10 to the 2nd power when you multiply. So your calculator is very, very important for this quiz. Make sure that you know how to type things in, and don't forget when you do a dividing question, you have to use the parentheses.